Yes.
Okay. It is now 5 p.m. I'm calling the meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Education Finance Committee to order. We are in conference room E. We also have remote hybrid conferencing going on. Present at the meeting is myself, Mr. Campbell. There's no other board members there. Wendy Cartilage is on. Robin Cushenberry, Tanya Crosby and her staff are here. Request for public comments has been accepted and none have provided a request for public comments. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Chairman, I approve the agenda.
I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next item is public comments, and I hear we have no public comments. So the next item is approval of the February 9th, 2023 committee meeting minutes.
Do I make a motion that we approve minutes?
I second the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Passes 2-0. Okay. Next item on the agenda, moving right along, is monthly Board of Education budget. Budget has been prepared. Are there any comments, Mr. Campbell?
No, I don't have any.
For the public record, I would say the board budget is well underneath 50% so far this fiscal year. So the board budget seems to be just fine. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the monthly $100,000 report. Ms. Crosby?
Yes, sir. So before you, I have two reports, a consolidated report and a more detailed report of any purchases and or contracts over 100,000. Just wanted to make a note that Amazon purchases totaled about $88,000. So they did not make their way, purchases in total did not make their way to this report this month, but details of those purchases, if viewers are interested, are available on the monthly transparency report, which has all transactions. Right. So I don't have any specific things to point out. These are mostly standard purchases that we make each month. A number at the end, a number of construction contracts, mostly due to referendum projects, as well as some custodial services. But pretty much a standard report for the month of January.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, do you have any questions on the report? I have a few questions or comments. Number one, Applied Data Technologies, $207,000. And last year in January, we only spent $25,000. A lot of docking stations are on there. Is this a different requirement for this year?
So we made a number of purchases back about 6 months ago for staff refresh of laptops. Okay. So you have your office staff, not teachers. Teachers are in their own refresh, students are in their own, but it's all other staffing in the schools. And so there were a number of purchases made with general funds in the previous, I think it was in the previous budget year, if I do recall. And these are docking stations to support those laptops.
Okay.
And Applied Data is the company that we buy all of our Hewlett Packard devices from for students, staff, and et cetera.
All right. And the Board of Control for Southern Region total, last January, we spent $220, and this January we spent $103,000.
These are professional development services for math and science. August through December of 2022 in the current fiscal year. It was for a project director, an elementary workshop, numeracy coach,
Is this ESSER funds pay for this?
and it's a great question. Board of Control
I didn't see it in the ESSER report.
would be in the transparency report, and I can pull that up and see if I can find that, see if it is in alphabetical order. Transparency report. Page 9. Of the transparency. Page. And the funding source would be. This is the $100,000 report. I was thinking the trans. I'm on the board, but you want the transparency, so I'll okay, that just take a second. And it's on page 29 on the transparency report. Board of Control for Southern Regionals. Okay, so we have several transactions, some of which are general fund and some are fund 296 and 293. It's and the MSAP grant funding are the largest purchases here. One's 24,000, one's 65,000. So it's a Department of Defense grant
Okay,
for the math science.
got it.
Is it a magnet?
Magnus, is that this?
For that one
is MSAP, that
That one is-
So these were professional development services under the grant.
Okay, okay. And I noticed that the Dominion Energy bill was only up 14,000 from last January, which I was surprised that it was that low, given that energy costs have gone up. The PBA insurance finance total is now $300,000 more than last January. The premiums have obviously increased.
Yes, those are our health insurance
Health
premiums.
insurance
PIBA
premiums.
is the Public Employee Benefits Association, and they manage the health insurance benefits for all public employees of the
Okay.
district.
And the SC retirement system total is $1 million more than last January. The retirement, that's payroll run.
Did we have 3 paydays in month? This is for the month of
January.
January. This is for December. We did have 3 paydays in December. We did have 3. Okay, 3 paydays.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, that answers that. And on the other report, I had some questions.
Transparency one.
Yes. Yes.
Right. There's 128 pages long.
Yeah. Yes, it's on the nutrition contract. I see we have a number of funding for district office. What is the district office getting from the nutrition incorporated?
The only thing that I can think of offhand is that there could have been a catering service, perhaps from the, for principals meetings or board meetings.
So they are
when
doing-
supply.
They are doing catering for us. in the month?
Yes, sir. On
Okay.
a smaller scale, we're not
Okay.
fully operational with regard to catering. I held them to concentrating solely on students in the
Okay.
first 6 months of the year. But now they are, they are doing lunches for full day principal meetings or board meetings.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. What's the only other question I have on that report? Okay. So
Ingrid's on.
Ingrid, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I was trying to find my raise my hand button on this view.
Okay.
I did have one question, and this is just me, and it's not a specific question about this chart, but understanding how we report out. So like I noticed there's a $15,000 and change consulting fee for Gregory Leap. That's a special revenue fund for Robert Smalls. So my question is $15,000, is that like a year-long, like we don't see the contract? Is it just for the math people at that school? And is it a Title I situation? Like, help me understand how I would read that on this report.
Gregory Lee was the name of the vendor.
Yeah, Gregory Leap, and it's on page 5, about a third of the way down. Gregory Leap Math Consulting Support Services, $15,250. Robert Smalls International Academy Special Revenue Federal.
Is that on the?
The transparency, are we not on the transparency report?
Yeah. Let's see that. It's not on page 5 on the transparency report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my screen was page 55.
Okay.
My screen was shrunk, so I just saw 5. Sorry. You see, I need help reading this thing.
Gregory Lee Math Consulting Support Services, $15,250. Title I. So Robert Smalls International Academy. So those are Title I funds. Do you know what, Ms. Smetson, do you know what? Gregory
Where do
Lee-
I know that it's Title I? I know it's special revenue, but that's not the only special revenue fund, right?
Oh, that's correct. It says special revenue. It's a federal fund, which there are 200 funds are federal. So
Right.
201 I know is Title I. So that would be, and they are a Title I school. The funding source then has a 224 right behind it, which means professional development. And then 83 means Robert Smalls International Academy. And 5312 is also instructional services for adults. So this had to be a support services, professional development for teachers.
But why would it just be at Robert Smalls? I can't imagine we're spending $15,000 on professional development for math teachers at just one school, right?
This is a vendor that was most likely selected by that particular principal or that leadership team in order to develop their math instruction. And schools really have the leeway to bring in vendors with their federal or local funding to be able to provide PD at. We also support them with providing district-wide PD at times, like Summer Institute or other times, but they do have the ability and discretion of hiring certain vendors with their Title I funding.
So how does that work? Because it's school, so different schools, the principals then have a lot of say as to how we use those Title I funds.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And I'd love that I now understand that, because so the GL account basically is all coded and will tell me what it is. Where can I find what those codes are?
We once put some a legend of those on our website. I don't know if it's still there, but I can certainly find it. And if it's not there, we can get it out. I think once we put some acronyms out there and various things like that. Just at quick glance, I do not see them. Oh, wait a minute. Acronyms and account structure under the resource category on the transparency page. So if you search on transparency you're on the front page of the website and type in the search engine transparency.
Okay.
And then go scroll to the bottom under resource. There is a tab called. Are you going there?
Yeah, I was trying.
Do the magnifying glass where you do a search on the top right hand corner. There you go.
Yeah.
Transparency.
All right, I just feel like I've cracked the Rosetta Stone. That's awesome.
All the way
Because I'm trying
down.
to read this and I don't want to bother you with every question because I'm not questioning it. I'm just kind of questioning how that is structured. Because my next question would be, just as another example, underneath that with the band. So there's a bunch of band instruments being purchased. Some are special revenue federal, some are general, and some are capital. So how do we decide what fund these things come out of? Is there a formula or is it just sort of because that says like Hilton Head Island High School special revenue federal, and I knew they weren't Title I. I guess I can look at my code cracker and figure it out now.
If I may, Robin has pulled up the account structure. So this document provides sort of a breakdown of each segment of the account structure.
Yeah.
And I think it's 34 pages because the State Department of Ed accounting structure, I believe, is behind this, which gives every account number relating to what we're required to use. So
this is a state metadata system.
yes, it's a
Not our
state
internal.
structure requirement. And so we do have this document on our website to help us provide that. So, okay. Sorry.
No, you know what? I'll just, I will come back more prepared to the next finance committee meeting because now I'm starting to understand, so I can ask better questions. So I'm forgoing my other questions and I'm just going to dig into all this to help my understanding. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Are we ready to move on?
And just so there, the Robert Smalls International Academy Professional Development was one payment for a series of sessions over time. So just wanted to point that out as well. When we look back into the details of the vendor invoices, we can see the background and behind that. So, but yes, we do have band instruments. We have multiple funding sources. We're able to fund some with ESSER funds. We had a small budget of a certain dollar amount, and then we have them on a refresh cycle. Also in our capital funds to refresh certain schools over a period of about 3 or 4 years. So we have them so that they don't go outdated and in disrepair.
Yeah, that's perfect. And from now on, what I'll be able to do is go and like, if I have a question, like let's say about this math consulting thing, I look at the codes, I understand that. And then I could just email you and because if I wanted more information, like if this is a one-time payment or a series, representing a series or an annual payment type of thing, I guess I could just reach out to you directly, right?
Absolutely. And just
waste everyone's time.
Page number, that is very helpful. And just know that ESSER funds are Fund 218 and 225.
Thank you so much.
Well, since we've opened that door, that was when I previewed the ESSER report. I saw the band instruments were paid for, and I'm sure you folks have made sure that that's an okay thing to do, but I don't understand how ESSER would pay for band instruments.
Well, think of it this way. You have a grandchild that plays the saxophone, and they have to, if they have instruments at the school that they have to share. So they're putting their mouths on these instruments. And during COVID, they're putting their fingers all over the buttons to play the instrument. So that was a justification for being able to not have to share as much by being able to have more individualized. Now, we can't do fully individual, it would be too cost prohibitive, but that is it. You are touching and putting, your fluids on the things.
Don't object. Why not? Okay. Very good. Are we ready to move on? I think we're ready. Let's move on to the ESSER update.
I'm going to start it out, and then I'm going to turn it over to Denise Matson, who is here. She's the expert in this area.
Absolutely.
And she has some good news to report for us. I think you heard a little hint of it earlier previously, but we'll get into some more
Okay.
details about that. So we always like to have some good news. So nothing's bad news about ESSER. We are in great shape. We are at 66% of expenditures. And again, there's $77 million over 3 years of expenditures. And our district has done a phenomenal job of identifying activities and making sure that we're on track for spending those. So we fully expended ESSER 1 funds, which were expired last September. ESSER 2 funds are expired this September 2023, and we're 95% spent at this point. ESSER 3 is 50% spent, so now we're going to be spending at a faster pace on those activities. Those expire in 18 months, which are September of 2024. And so we're on track to spend every dime that we encounter. And our goal is to really finish up by June of 2024, because so that all the transactions and paperwork and purchases are all closed out, and then we're able to claim the funds prior to the September 30 deadline. So that's our goal. Most programs will wrap up by the end of that school year. And so as expected, we have some ups and downs of spending each quarter. And the most recent quarter was the fourth quarter of the year, and where we had the teacher retention, or the retention bonuses. So in December, there was an upswing for that purpose. So of the $77.5 million allocated of the 3 grants, we've spent $50 million, and we have 26.8 remaining. The bulk of it is budgeted for in learning loss activities, and the remaining activities that we have are for the most part learning loss activities. So we spent $1.3 million this month, in the month of February. So we typically spend that, or $1.3 to $2 million each month. The largest area of spending, mental health, our master teachers, custodial, sanitation. We had some band instrument purchases this time. Mattson may be able to elaborate on that some. And extended learning, our school base, which is tutoring. So those are some of the major categories, but I would love to have Ms. Mattson talk to some of the neat things that are getting ready to happen regarding the state.
Go ahead, Denise.
All right, well, it was exciting. Not really. We received a letter on February the 16th from the State Department, and they wrote that according to our records, your district performed exceptionally well on our ESSER program monitoring self-assessment. That was the first part of monitoring, was a self-assessment, and we submitted all of our information to them, and we got a positive response from that. But then the next step was going to do field monitoring. I knew that was coming, and so they said, as a component of field monitoring, we would like to come visit you. So they are coming to visit us. And they said to experience the quality and success of your programs. And so they will be on site March the 29th for a short preview with us. They were working on an agenda. They told us the program they were interested in hearing about and seeing, and then they allow us to add a couple more of our own. I only got to the monitoring paragraph of this letter. I didn't go any further. I was like, and Tanya brought it to my attention, because then it said that they were wondering if we would like to serve as an exemplar district for other districts in the state. So, okay. So we said, yes, we would be glad to answer questions from others. And so they were very complimentary when we had a pre-conference meeting with them. And
Are you going to take them out to see an after school program?
yes, that's That wasn't the one they asked about, but we got to choose some of our own. So yes, we will be.
Because
doing
that's what, that goes on that day. So, you know,
that will be one of our options. So yes.
So one great thing that we have, we're gonna do a combination of some in-person thing, activities like that. But Ron Lopes of the communications office has a database of videos of ESSER related programs. So we're gonna actually show those, so they don't have to, you know, they can see more of what we're doing.
Give
just
them a
through
CD
videos.
to take with. Really, I'm serious, I'm serious.
Yeah,
Once we started talking, even on the pre-conference with them, you know, they said, we're just coming to see the good things. And, you know, like, yeah, but it says monitoring, you know, but its program is what they're looking at right now. And they have all of our activities. They've seen all those, what you talk about, even the band thing. So they've reviewed all of that. All that is approved before we do any of that. But so that is the good news. They're coming to monitor us, but they want us to be exempt from our district states. And they're very, they wanted to know, because we actually had to do the self-assessment, talked about some weaknesses. And so we had to self-assess, and we talked about the difficulty it was to convince stakeholders that we were spending this money, going to get it spent at the time there. And that, so that was kind of our weakness, is trying to communicate that well. And then we talked about how we solved that, and they want to see this chart here of how we did our projections and every month. And it's one of the best things to do is coming monthly and reporting to the Board of Education about how we're doing. Was, in my opinion, of course, it's stressful standing up there and everybody questioning all the details on that, but it kept us spending on that. So I think that's a real positive thing for
I
us.
saw on another brief, the list of all the schools that had the filters, what are they, some kind of air filter.
ionization.
Ionization.
Bipolar ionization.
Polar ionization. Be sure you show them that.
Okay.
Be sure you show that. Because that is really something that the taxpayer could understand. That's going to help the health, not just COVID, but from
Right.
as we go forward.
It's interesting how that works. So it magnetizes particles in the air and they fall together and fall to the ground.
Right.
So that's how that works. It's crazy.
Right.
And I think our HVAC systems that they put in also already had that included in that system. It was just the ones that didn't have it
Right,
that they were
exactly.
doing. So which is really,
It looks like all our schools have.
yes, now they do.
That's. Okay, what else you got? Campbell, you have any questions about the breakouts?
No, I don't.
I went through it, and the only thing I found in there was the band instruments. I didn't understand that, but now I do. This is a success, and we need to let the taxpayers know that the $77 million wasn't spent on Ferraris and Maseratis. It was
Not for us.
it was spent for kids. It was spent, the instructional coaches, if you weren't at the SIC
I wasn't.
joint, oh, yes, you were at the
Yes.
SIC. Well, you heard that
Yes, I
mentioned over and over again about how the principals thought that coaching has been invaluable. And you know, that also tells us that we need to keep doing it.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, I think it attests to the planning team and the people that put it together, our plan. We weren't just filling holes in our budget. They were really looking for things to increase learning loss. It was that team that put that together, and I wasn't on that team, but they did a great planning. It wasn't just like other districts kind of trying to fill holes and things like that. It was like forward thinking.
And so when this team comes, Mary Stratos and her folks are going to come in and
Yes, they're the presenters, so yes.
good. That's outstanding. Yes. Please be prepared to give the full board a report what they found when they came, okay?
Mhm.
Because we need to make sure.
They'll give us a written report back.
Yeah,
and make sure.
I'm sure. That's great, thank you. Budget update FY 23-24.
Yes, sir. So we have been working very hard for the last few months. So Ms. Hamlin is here, the Director of Budget Procurement. Cindy Phillips here, Director of Fiscal Services. We've all been working on and the team has been working on the budget. So where we are, I have about 4 main topics to discuss with you this evening, just points to make, I guess. I don't have a document to provide to you. I just wanted to keep the budget in your mind and let you know that where we are on that. And we have an update next Friday, so the 24th, I believe. So it's still, although a tremendous amount of work's been done, we still have a long way to go because the strategy part of things comes at the end. But we attended a state meeting last week. The state, it's all the finance officials in the state and the State Department of Education, finance, Office of Finance staff. The state superintendent was there and spoke. And then various VP, Sandy Houck of the Department of Revenue came and spoke on reassessment and rollback millage, that sort of thing. And then a series of other meetings updating us on GASB, new GASB pronouncements, Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncements that guide our accounting work. And so a couple of the main things that we got out of that meeting was one, of course, the House has now, the House Ways and Means had already passed the budget, the education budget. And as of this week, they have now, the full House has passed the budget. And so it is now moving to the Senate Finance Committee meeting for deliberation. So we were told by the Finance Office that we would receive revenue calculations, estimates this week for state revenues. We have yet to receive them. And that piece of information is critical to our budget. So what the piece of information we are waiting on now, well, there's about 3 pots of money, about 40 mil. No, it's going to be about $50 million, I think, combined. So the main new funding formula is called the state aid to classrooms. That's the main component of it. That's about 40 million. And there's a couple of other pots as well that have to do with fringe benefits and retiree insurance and that sort of thing. So that's a big component of our budget. And that number really helps define what the total expenditures can be at this point. So we've already done projections on local tax revenue, which are coming in very strong, we believe they'll be above budget. But we are anxiously awaiting that major piece of state revenue. And so until we really can't see where we are until we get that. The second piece is the state embarked on starting to simplify the very complicated funding structure in South Carolina by rolling up funds. Last year they began, and they rolled certain funds together into state aid classrooms. They rolled some EIA funds, which are Special Revenue Education Improvement Act funds, together. And it's difficult for us to understand, and we do this every day. But this year they are rolling about 4 or 5 more funding sources together. And we're not sure if they're going to stay in the special revenue funds at 100% of the current value, or if they're going to be rolled into the general fund, which we will then get a fraction of the cost of the value.
Yeah.
But regardless, we'll have to move nurses and career development facilitators and PE teachers that are in those funds, as to name a few, and move them somewhere else, whether it's in EIA or special revenue, and then or in general fund, excuse me, and then put the revenue in there to support them. So it's we need to find information about where that money is, where it's going. Because it's also critical to accurately budgeting our general fund budget. So just a complicated little pickup there we've got to work through. And the third thing is expenditures. We have successfully, we believe, put everything we can think of into Munis. And we are at the point now where we're reviewing the data to see if there's any duplications, any errors, anything's missed, and really scrubbing the numbers and analyzing where big increases and decreases are, any big changes. And then we will, within the next 2 weeks, be moving toward meeting with the superintendent to make some decisions about positions and major increases and some of the initiatives that are in there. And we're going to have to trim some back. And that's normal, that we do that every year. And so with the end result being coming to the board with a balanced budget at the April board meeting, work session.
Based on the revenue.
Based on the revenue that's available, yes.
That's your best guess at that time.
Yes, and we update our revenues every month as we get more information or every time we get something from the state, so it constantly changes. But the best version of the budget with the most detail is going to come April 21st to the board. So March 24th is going to be another kind of update of kind of where we are, but not all of the details that will come in April when we put everything together and actually balance the budget. And so one last thing is we have gotten a lot of good input, both from the website, the Connect BCSD Bang the Table thing where we got input online, then the joint board and SIC committee meeting that had great response and lots of great ideas. Next thing we're going to do is bring at least 2 students from every high school together and have a student advisory budget meeting. And we did this for the first time last year. Dr. Rodriguez started this initiative and it was wildly successful. We brought students together, had them split up in groups, not necessarily with their fellow students at their own schools. They got in groups and they just started talking about things that they thought were important. And it didn't have to just be about this general fund budget. It might have been, we're not happy with the food, or we're not happy with this, or we'd like to see more of that. And then we take that feedback back and either make priorities in the budget or put in initiatives, or we change contracts that may not be working. So there are all kinds of things and that is so valuable information and they were so bright and eloquent in speaking with us and seemed to feel very comfortable speaking out. So that's something we're going to do again this year.
We are ready for the public forums that we have in April. We're going to have our best guess kind of solution, and we'll see what comes from the public forums. Look at it from there.
Yes. So we will have had, with a combination of Ms. Hamlin, it was her idea to do the early on online, and then the board's idea to do the joint SIC. So we are way ahead of the game on getting input this year, and it's great.
We got a briefing in operations yesterday about their software work order management thing that they're looking at, and I hope that we can have a high priority on that. That is something that's really needed, and I'm very excited about the possibility of having technology incorporated in that. So we have one database, relational database, that we can make choices based on good, solid data. And we can also track these work orders, and principals can look at it. real time what statuses that they have. I hope we can find the necessary resources to take care of that. That's something that oftentimes gets forgotten, but it will save us money. That will be a cost benefit with that.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, you have any comments?
No, I'm just wondering, the $3 point some billion in mistake that they made. That won't affect us, will it?
Ms. Phillips actually alerted me to that about 30 minutes before we walked into this meeting. So I just heard about it today and I hadn't had an opportunity to read the article. But for those listening who haven't seen it, it's the state comptroller general, Richard Ekstrom, that there was an error found that over a series of years, 10 years equaled $3.5 billion. And so would you like to speak to that? I don't really know much about it.
All I know is what I read, but it's a $3.5 billion, and it's a system error is what he's saying, and the state is saying that it will not affect funding from the state. So it's basically an overstatement from what I read of funds that went to higher education,
Double counting. This is double and triple counting.
double counting higher education funds. And he's being asked.
So
And
he's
his
only
salary is being,
making $1 now.
that's a motion,
Well, they're gonna
not done.
recommend that the comptroller get $1 salary.
Correct. If they
Sounds
reduce-
reasonable. Okay. Ms. Boatwright, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so,
Mr. Smith is on as well.
okay, Mr. Smith, do you have any comments?
Actually, the comment that I had, you kind of addressed it upon the comment that you made about addressing the new proposal that's coming, but also my question is when will we have the information about the finance analysis upon bringing the custodian scenario and the maintenance back in house? We were supposed to see how much that cost.
Next meeting.
Right, we're gonna have a meeting, an initial meeting to discuss it. And then the next operations committee meeting and finance committee meeting, both next meetings will have that as a prime topic for discussion.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So the Friday update, a week from this Friday, you're gonna give the board the best guess at the time. And what are you gonna be looking for in the full board, in the workshop?
This is an information only. There will not be any motions requested. You know, if you would like a discussion of priorities of board members.
Well, you know, we've got 4 new board members that haven't been through this at all before.
Mhm.
And so we need to go into some detail,
About how the budget works.
how the budget works, how the revenue comes in, the challenges that we have. Please, we need to inform the new members, and we have other new members that came on 2 years ago that didn't go through reassessment. So we need to tell them about the reassessment challenges.
Board policies that relate to the budget and state laws that relate to the budget. So those kind of define how we back into the limits of it.
Right.
Okay. So state law and the millage and reassessment. I have not received a response back from the county assessor's office about a meeting or a presentation.
Comptroller's office or the assessor's
The
office.
assessor's office.
That's right.
But there is a PowerPoint presentation online that discusses reassessment. I can at least provide that information to the board.
Good.
I don't want to speak on her behalf, but
Right,
If she's not available, then the very least I'll make sure you get that.
We really need her, if necessary, perhaps ask Dr. Rodriguez to talk to Mr. Greenway, say how important that is.
Yes.
Because that's going to be really key to us this year.
Yes.
We gotta have a good idea of what that revenue is, and what the millage is.
And it was made very clear by Sandy Halka of the Department of Revenue that the general fund operating budget or operating millage is subject to rollback during a reassessment, but debt service millage is
It's
not. So that is very good news for us.
Yes.
The debt service will stay the same and we will need to only manage
I was kind of concerned about that.
and keep in mind, although we have two county auditors, one will leave in June 30, and another will come on July 1. Millage setting doesn't occur until, say, August
So
timeframe.
that's the new control.
So some of that work will be completed, I would imagine, when the new county auditor is in place. And the State Department, I believe, has spoken with him and is already planning a meeting to assist in the reassessment process. So,
That's good news.
so I spoke with staff at the Department of Revenue.
Good,
Mhm.
good.
So yes, just have to put the whole picture of the budget together and then we'll worry about, and then it'll be time to look at the village as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year.
Right. Okay, and so you will talk a little bit about that.
We have actually two presentations, separate ones. One will be, the first presentation will be debt. And
Okay.
so Brian Nurick and
Brian's
Franny Kaiser will both be here. They're actually coming to the CPRC meeting the night before, the Community Project Review Committee.
Oh, good.
And they will be attending, or at least Brian, I think Franny has confirmed as well. So they will be in attendance and we'll be presenting some information
On Friday
there on
and
Thursday evening at OT.
Thursday
at
and then Friday the
6:15.
next morning.
And then Friday the next morning, they will be with us first thing. And we will go into our standard informational session and discuss how the referendum fits in
Yes,
and to that
perfect.
mix and how we fund it. And then we will move in once, in opportunity, lots of opportunity for questions there. And then we'll move to a budget conversation after that with reassessment discussion mixed in there.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, does that sound all right to you?
Sounds fine. We start at 9, right?
Miss Boatwright, is that, you got any questions about that?
Nope, that sounds great.
Hey, Mr. Smith, how about you?
Yes, sir. I do have a question. My question is, will we have it by line item about positions? Because I think it's very important. Also, it helps me. I feel to be able to digest this information. If we have a line item about what positions that we're having and what positions are in terms of in what department in terms of the budget.
This meeting will not have that level of detail, no, sir. We're still waiting on the revenues to come in, so we're unable to bring forward a full budget until we get the amount of revenues to support it. So the April budget will have more of the line item details in the April budget work session will have the details that I believe you're looking for.
Okay. Well. Okay. Wow. Okay. I guess that's that'd be fine. Just I guess. Okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay. Well, that concludes the last agenda item. Any future topics, Mr. Campbell?
Can't think of it. I know that the state have talked about resource officers, I think,
Yes. I
and
saw that.
5 one resource officer, 500 students.
And,
So that means you would have two resource officers in the high school and middle school.
I don't know, you know, if they fund us, I don't know how we're gonna fill them. You know, that's, I saw that and I, that was.
I may be able to bring a brief presentation on that. I've done a lot of, been in a couple of meetings on SROs, even as recently as today.
Okay,
With the city, so I can bring a discussion about that next meeting and maybe we'll know a little more
Good.
information by then and I can update you on what communications we've had with the state and local
Okay.
officials.
that'll be the next topic for the next meeting, next finance committee meeting. Any other?
Minority business enterprise
Yeah.
report.
Yeah. And we will also have the report on the civilian.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Boatright, do you have anything for a future topic?
Nope.
Okay.
Can't hear the music. Sorry, I'm hosting a pianist, so I'm trying to be brief.
Okay.
We need to look at moving the date because our next scheduled meeting, which will be the second Thursday in April, that's spring break week.
It's not a good time.
So
What day would you suggest?
Are you all available on Wednesday, the 19th?
You have something on that?
Are you available in the 19th
Of April,
of April?
that's senior banquet,
The senior banquet that evening.
that evening, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
The senior banquet's at
Senior
6 o'clock.
spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's at May River High School.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
What time is it?
17.
17, it's a Monday,
Oh, let me check.
that's the Monday after, well, that's Monday, that's
That would be technology meeting. I'll have to find some dates and send it out.
Okay.
I have to go.
Yeah, actually, I did in terms of finance. I want to kind of call back about what he was on, in terms of, a new topic agenda. I would like to know, how much money are we spending on all SROs, in Beaufort County, and in Beaufort County, school district as a whole?
We have a contract.
Right, but I know that we pay half of their salary and the departments pay,
75%. We pay 75%.
we pay 75%, not.
Because 75% of the school of the year is the school year, so that, and then the other 25% is theirs.
Well, yeah, I would definitely like to see what that looks like and how much money we're spending on that as well.
We'll bring it as part of the SRO topic.
Yeah. And I guess we can make more security too, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since we're,
It's $1 million for that.
Yeah, we know what that is, $1 million.
Right.
Okay, that.
Yeah.
We got that. Go on, be part of the SRO discussion.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, that seems to cover everything. If I hear no objections, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Good stuff. And good luck on your softball game tonight.
Yes. Beat Hilton Head High. Sorry. They beat Hilton Head High at home 15-14 last year. Yes. It was a high scoring meeting. Yeah, that's been hard. That's a lot of walking base, walking or walk hits or something. I don't know what it is, but I wasn't there. I had